Hello YouTube, and welcome to my Let's Play / Developers Commentary of Philly Fantasy VI. I said a while ago that I wanted to do this, and now I'm just kind of bored and decided to finally get around to doing it. So, yeah, this is going to be a Let's Play. The reason I've been putting it off for so long is because just ignore that save file, because I actually did a whole half-hour recording but did not test before I did it, and so the result was you couldn't hear me under the gameplay footage. Let this be a lesson to you. Always do an audio test. I went to college for this stuff, I should know better. So yeah, the real simple reason it's taken me so long to do this, despite, asking people if they wanted me to do it and teasing I might do it, I just got so tired of Final Fantasy VI playing through this cack. Over the past 2 years, I've played through this game at least 3 full times that I can recall, probably more than that I can't remember. And I've also played and replayed bits and pieces of it over and over and over. So, I really just got tired of Final Fantasy VI, I just didn't want to touch anymore, that's the reason I didn't personally Let's Play 2.0 all the way through, is because I didn't have it in me to do this. But, it has been a while since I've played, and, I want to remind myself all the things I do kind of my own glitch and graphic testing and all that. And I do want to do a developer's commentary on it, because there is a lot of personal humorous anecdotes, it was not a one-man project, but for a long time I did kind of go through this myself. So there are some funny anecdotes I can share, and some features and stuff I can talk about. And I'm sure you guys have questions too, so if anyone does have questions, just hit me up in the comments section below the video. Ask your questions. If I don't respond to you directly in the comments, I might bring it up in a future video. So we begin with Snips and Snails as Biggs and Wedge, which just fits perfectly. Final Fantasy VI did that, and there's no reason to change that. Now, why are Snips and Snails serving in the Imperial Army? Sombra has really low recruiting standards. Yes, that's why. And why do Snips and Snails have grey coats under the armor? It's a glamour. Sombra enforces conformity among his troops. When they put on the armor, they all become the same color. So yeah, we're just gonna skip the intro, get to here. Ain't risking my flank for this, forward! First off, a big shout out to Rhino Fox for the sprite work. I love the look of the Imperial armor. Machine riding self-important mules! And they sick a Timberwolf on us. And we're just gonna shoot them and kill them. What defeats a Timberwolf? How about fire? Fire might work. Yeah, fire seemed to do the trick. Let's set it on fire. I didn't mean to get into that fight. I was wanting to show something else off. Minor thing I did, I reclassified Holy as white magic in this game to make room for it in the black spell slot. And the original SNES version this is based on, this was healing and attack magic. I changed it to more traditional white and black on the suggestion from FF6 hacking. And now the window colors. We have the typical classic Final Fantasy VI blue and gray, which, looks fine, basic, that's what I'm going to stick with. But we also have character themes. Here's Twilight with the pink and blue and purple and the star. Applejack with the apples and the green and the orange and yellow. Rainbow Dash with the rainbows and the blue and the clouds. Oh wow, the menu text is... when you leave the menu, it looks fine because it's still white on blue, but in here, I don't know why that text is blue in here, but yeah, it's really kind of hard to read. Thank goodness it's outlined in black. 5, here we got Fluttershy with the butterflies and the green and blue. I don't quite know why I picked such a horrid color yellow. It is because this was a sort of shading effect maybe, so maybe that's why I did it. I think I maybe brighten up the yellow if I can. And we have Pinkie Pie with the purple and pink and blue. This is supposed to be balloons in the corner. They came out looking like flowers. But they're supposed to be balloons. You know, I only have a small space to work with for my artistry, though. Here's Rarity with her terrible-looking gemstones. They kind of look exactly like Twilight Star with a point missing, but no, they are gemstones. And I don't know why I gave her red and yellow. I think that's supposed to be like a creamish white, maybe? Maybe that's supposed to be the red of her designing glasses. I'm questioning my own design decisions. And here we have the two sisters with the sun and the moon. So yeah, those are some character motifs I added just because, you know, but no, I'm gonna stick with the classic blue. Naish is I'm pretty sure Pony Fantasy VI made the original pun. I had to keep it, you know, because most other location names are changed to stuff from the show or official maps of the Equestria that the show has created. But Naish is too perfect a pun that we have to have the bad pony puns. It's not pony without the puns, you know? Ponehenge. You know, every time you think, oh god, that's the worst pony pun they've ever come up with, the showrunners, they will surprise us and have things like Ponehenge. So there is a bit of an anecdote here. I said I got Rydell Fox, my graphic designer and really a co-creator and programmer for all the help he gave me beyond just designing graphics. And a lot of very often, especially for the field sprites, implementing them, figuring out how to add them to the game from a programming stance instead of creative. He probably hates these god sprites, and they have it coming. I don't know the details in a technical sense, and it's kind of hard to describe anyway, at least from what I've read. Basically, when characters are in Magitech armor, the game, some of the data used to display sprites in battle is allocated towards the Magitech armor animations. And apparently that's part of the reason why whenever you get Magitech armor in the game, you only have 3 party members, because it wouldn't work with 4 party members for some reason or another. And another part of this limitation is that if the enemies are wider than a certain radius, their sprite will start to be overwritten by pieces of Magitech armor. And I remember one glitchy sprite I had, like in front of the enemy there was like pieces of Magitech armor hanging off of them in various brown and gray colors. So the enemies can only be so wide. In the original game this isn't a problem because there's various like molds you could do, which is like image sizes for enemies that tell the game this is approximately how much to block off for the enemy. And in the original, pretty sure it's 32 pixels. I think, or maybe 64. I don't remember. Whatever the case was, the enemies in the original game, the gods and Imperials, were wide enough. But Rydell's new god fights were not. You can see they're wide. And so when we got to this fight here with 4 enemies, which are all like wide enemies, the Magitech armor didn't display right, and so Rydell had to basically just take his original sprite, which looked good, and shrink down the gods, just scale them down to fit them under the proper size. And I think I mentioned to him once that, you know, maybe you could redo them like they're rearing up or they're holding the claw behind them, so that you can have some more room to design them. And I think he just said, like, you know, I really don't care, I'm just tired of this. I think he had to had to scale them down and redesign them 3 or 4 times, and they just look like crap now. Another technical limitation that we kind of had to work around from a programming point. First, let's get a cure spell. My part is getting kind of beaten up. Now, because the game only has 6 palettes to use for NPCs. And on those 6 pallets I have to fit 3 pallet swaps of the Imperial Soldier, because there are 3 ranks of Imperials you meet through the game. There's the Commanders, the Rank and File, and the Recruits, which is the palette Snips and Snails use. Now the Recruit palette uses palette 6, and already, changing the color locations on the palettes to get 3 separate palettes that work for the Imperial armor was a lot of hassle. Oh god, the toys I could tell about rearranging the palettes to make things work. But anyway, so they would only work on palette 6, and the game handles palette 6 odd, overwriting it for various event effects and that. And a consequence of that is that characters with palette 6 don't show up right on the save menu. So I gave rid of the save point here, because you would step on the save point, go to save, and Snips and Snails would show up in the save menu as a jumbled mashup of different colors. And no, get rid of the save point, There's a save point right after when Twilight wakes up later, that you can save there, and if you need a save point at this part of the game, I remember there was someone who told me they couldn't get through this tutorial level. I can't remember, maybe I'm making that up. I'm pretty sure I got someone complaining they didn't know how to get past the tutorial level. And there's only so much hand-holding you can do with a video game. If you can't get past the tutorial level, especially in this game with Magitech armor handed to you, and killing enemies in one hit and having access to free curative abilities, just stop. Small change here. This is not in the original. This was a generic god. Here it's the god captain, who has a unique sprite from the Nosh gods that were in the original game. Also changed from the original game. They said that this thing eats lightning, which you think would mean, okay, don't use bolt beam on it, but no, it just absorbs any kind of magical attack aimed at the shell. But this thing eats magic, which makes more sense because, it's Equestria. There's monsters that eat magic out there. I don't recall if I ever considered or looked at changing Welko for a monster from the show. I'm sure there's something that could replace the Welk, some sort of monster that I could say, I'm sure there's something I could put in place of Welk, but I didn't. And like I said, I don't even remember if I actually looked at changing Welk. But yeah. Come on. Anytime now. Okay. Gem Rocket. Fun story, I'm not sure why this is, but apparently the blank spots in the Magitech armor, they have a habit of, when you edit them in one of the hacking programs used, they will overwrite themselves with just random question marks for blank commands. So you have to actually go into the hex and then blank out the command in a different way. I don't know what it is, but that was just a hassle I had to deal with a couple times. I'd fire up the game, stop playing, I'd get into battle, and hey, what's all these question mark commands? And they didn't do anything, they just were there. Random thought, Final Fantasy IV's battle with the Four Fiends is the most badass boss, one of the most badass pieces of boss music ever. I like the fierce battle from this game too, but, battle with the Four Fiends is just legendary. That's the boss. You like a boss who gets you pumped. Battle with the Four Fiends is king of getting you pumped up for a fight. You enter into here. That's the kind of fanfare that tells you shit is about to go down, and you're gonna be in the middle of it. Okay, we're done here. I have a fun anecdote about the rogue enemy, the baby griffin there, but I'm gonna save it for in a minute, when it'll be more apt. Tiny Claw, and he scratches the paint job. And Snails retaliates by shooting a beam of fire! I kind of like that they gave Snails a bit of depth in Buckball season. I wonder if they'll ever do something for Snips. Now there's an idea, maybe Snips could, instead of Rumble for, that cutie, the CMC episode in Season 7, I can't remember what it was. They had done Snips instead and given him a brother, that might have been cool. I shot over the Esper's compressed graphics, I can't edit that, but I wouldn't want to even if I could. Because this is another thing where technical limitations got in the way again. You probably noticed, that kind of odd-looking chunk of ice on top of the Esper in this cutscene. That chunk of ice that just sticks out, and it really conforms completely to the silhouette of Yes, but try Torch from the original game. And so Snips and Snails die, and nothing of value is lost. So the reason that we have to have that chunk of ice floating up there is that this magic aura effect here is molded to appear around that sprite. And when we took away the sprite, that piece of ice over top, the magic just went around in the empty air and looked bad. So Rydell had to add that outcropping of ice and match the Valagomanda outline. And now Twilight wakes up in a strange man's bed, and the first thing she's gonna do is run to his bookcase and take a cupcake from it. Where did these come from? You know, I'm actually kind of curious how I got these now. I don't remember adding that in the coding. But you know, I don't mind, you know, hey, I have a couple free items. Sure, why not? Horn hurts. A small touch, you only see it this one time, so it's nothing, but I recolored the crystal inhibitor purplish reddish with touches of green to match Sombra's stick. You know, a crown with bits of green and a red horn on it. That's something Sombra wouldn't create, you know? And also completely in canon with the, you know, what I'm going with the Crystal Empire, Sombra controlling ponies' minds. Twily! For 2.0, I took a Enter Pony nickname like Pony Fantasy 6 did, because characters still use their full names on occasion. But so you know, it makes more sense. You're just giving them a nickname. They're still going to be referred to their full names on occasion. I'm thinking maybe some of the gods in canon are changing to refer to Celestia as Celestia, not Tia. She's with the Crystal Empire! I have to say, it's really interesting. I love watching people LP the game, not just because I like seeing all the myriad ways people play, but also like seeing people react to the story. Like, if you never played Final Fantasy VI and you don't know what's going on, you know, like, well, why is Twilight here, and, you know, what's with the Crystal Empire, what's going on? So in the original game, there's a hidden item here. I can't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was in the original game, but it was placed one tile too far to the right, so you couldn't walk over to get it. For this hack, I moved it back over, and if you know it's there, you can have a free Zap Apple or X Potion. And here we are in the caves here. So what happened is, at one point I was testing out various new spell effects and graphics by overwriting the animation for fire. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm testing the animation for Scourge, which was an original animation I made by combining two separate spells. So, you know, I'll just overwrite Fire's animation with this spell of Scourge. And for what I wanted to be strong enough to survive it, so I can test it multiple times and see it multiple times. So I took the rogue there. They have 35 HP normally, and I just overwrote and I just added a couple zeros to the end. Well, so they can be my punching bag for testing spells and abilities and that. Well, the next time I played through the game, I forgot to reduce their HP back to normal. So I started playing through the game like normal, and suddenly I get to this part and this rogue tanks like 4 attacks from Twilight as a die. I'm like, oh crud, its HP is at 3500. Yeah, this, whoops. And it's a mistake I'll be careful not to make again. If I mess with enemy HPs to test something on them, I remember to change it back now. And now Twilight falls on and we see Discord. Originally the characters were named. I took out the names just because, it's kind of like a creative sense. Like, Twilight doesn't know their names. She's just having flashbacks to this stuff. Like, it's pretty obvious who that is. If you've played the show, it's kind of obvious that that's Discord. But Twilight doesn't know that yet. once again, a big shout out to Rydell. Amazing sprite work. Like, honestly, I love this guy's sprite. The Imperials were some of the first enemies he did. And I think the very first sprite that Rydell designed and showed me a sketch for it was Magitech Armor. Which we won't see yet, but like I saw it and I'm like, whoa. Like, those things look great, and I am so lucky to have Rydell on this project. Once again, big shout out to him, and thank you very much, dude. You're awesome. You did amazing work. Small touch here, in the original hack it was Celes standing on the right there with General Leo and Kefka. But here, because, you know, it doesn't make much sense for Cadence to be there, it's Radiant Hope instead of Sid. And she uses the unused extra sprite sheet spot of Sid's to do the salute animation here. I kind of love how, like, Shining Armor and Hope are raising their hooves, and Discord just kind of like waving his hand. Yeah, yay, King Sombra, yay. And now we come to one of the most controversial parts of the hack, especially compared to Pony Fantasy VI. There he is. Small note here, when the intro part text here finishes and we go to the naming screen, in the original hack, Locke resumed his normal neutral forward-facing animation. I took that out to fit a couple, like 2 blocks of text where we add the auto crossbow to the inventory so Flash can have that for the upcoming sequence. Anyway, a lot of people have mixed feelings about Flash being in the hack. I have nothing against Flash. I'm not a fan, but I don't hate him. He's nothing to deserve hate. You know, you look at characters like Blue Blood and Diamond Tiara, you know, those are characters that have done things worth hating. What's Flash done? He's done nothing. He's just, you know, kind of boring on a blank slate, which is part of the reason he works so well for this hack. You know, I can make him kind of sneaky and mischievous and unsure of himself, and it's not out of character, because he has no character. But yeah, a lot of people did not want to see him in the hack, and if it's a thing about replacing Applebloom, I understand that. But honestly, Flash just fits. Like, I think Flash works, and some people have said that they like Flash in this game. You know, it's expanded backstory, and he has some good utility in combat. You know, he gets some cool and funny moments. So, you know, I hope I did help win the guy a bit of respect, because he doesn't deserve to be hated. You know, I'm not a fan of him either, but, you know, he doesn't deserve the hate. On another hand, here's what is personally my favorite casting choice. The Pinkie Pie clones as the Moogles. Kubo! Fun! And instead of Mog as the lone Moogle who could talk, we have Pinkie as the original Pinkie who can just talk normally. It's perfect. That's perfect casting. Originally this was a Pinkie Pie or a Moogle that gave the tutorial. I changed it to Spike so he's consistently the guy giving tutorials, because that makes sense, you know? Spike. So Pinkie is... There's a long story with Pinkie's dances, actually. I'll get into it while I warm them up here. In the original game, Mog started off knowing no dance techniques. Pinkie, though, starts off with Winter Rap. Now, the reason she does this is because there's a fan-made hack, a fan patch I added that's a third character learn magic naturally as they level up. And part of that hack and patch also added Mog starting with one of his dances. And there we go, got a new party theme, we'll show it off in battle next. So the patch said, okay, Mog starts off with one of his dances. This is the early days when I had no clue what I was doing programming-wise. I didn't know how to get rid of that, but I'm like, okay, fine. Then what happened is I made Pinkie's dances tied to the various elements of the game, 8 elements. And mostly it fits, you know, like, when you fight underground here, you learn the earth dance. When you fight out in the desert, you learn the fire dance. When you fight underwater, you learn the water dance. The forest, you know, can be the poison dance. So it kind of works. But then you have the holy dance, which I deliberately designed to be the strongest one. It has some of the strongest attacks, the holy dance. And I put it at there's the one battlefield, the snowfields. Yeah, you can't fight on snow plains until the World of Ruin. So I decided, okay, that'll be the holy dance site, because you can't get it till the World of Ruin, save the best skill for the second part of the game. But now, what's the ice dance then? If it's not the snowfields, where's the ice dance gonna happen? And so I made Pinky's natural dance that she starts the game with, the ice dance. So there's no plot hole of like, hey, you know, why does Pinky not, like, learn the ice dance fighting on the cliffs? And technically speaking, in terms of the dance slot it occupies, it is the Earth Blues dance slot, which Mog would learn when fighting on cliff sides and on the floating continent. Well, Pinky already starts with it, so that's not a plot hole to concern about. Doesn't matter where she learns it or what terrain it's tied to now, because she just has it. And we're mopping all these guys up. It's a bit overpowered at this early point of the game, especially when we get that avalanche skill. But you know, you don't get Pinky again until the midpoint of the game. And here's my new elemental affinities coming into play. That Timberwolf just no-sold a rock slide. I hate these mammoths, by the way. Just in any version of Final Fantasy VI, you always want to try and kill the mammoths before they unleash Blizzard, because Blizzard just completely messes your party up. That's one thing I did, I remember, when giving all the Pinkie Pie clones uniform stats. I gave them a bit high HP so that you don't have to worry about getting to this part with the mammoths, like, taking out the whole party like that, and hey, that was cool, you know, group heal right before the boss. Well, not quite group heal now, but yeah. I gave them all like fairly high HP so they can tank this, because this is supposed to be an easy part of the game. It's a tutorial, you know. And yes, the Pinkie Pie clones all have the exact same equipment draw, they all have the exact same stats. Pinky has her unique stats, but the clones all, and they all have the theme names. I'll just run through them. Pranky, Pecky, Picky. Back here we have Punky, Porky, Panky, and Peppy. And over here with Flash we have Preppy, Pronky, and Peepy. You know, I just love the theme names of the Pinky clones with the Y and the P's and the Pecky, Pippy. Is there a Pippy? Why isn't there a Pippy? Who wouldn't want to play as Pippy Pie? So now let's kick the God Captain's ass. Pardon me. Oh yeah. Another new feature to 2.0, like, claws can automatically counterattacks now. In 1.0, it was Applejack's katanas that did that. They now have the auto two-hand ability, so it's like a built-in gauntlet. You can have a forego a shield for the boost to attack power, and now claws automatically counterattacks. And wow, that was a quick fight, he didn't even get to use a special attack. Okay, and the Pinkie Pie clone saved the day. Pinkie Pie's best ponies. I do find interesting that when you return to this cave later in the game, where the god came from actually goes back to the main shaft, Flash just ran into Pinkie Pie's lair, and like ran through the back entrance, back out to the main part of the cave, and then has to go around. Like, Flash took the long way back. And you know, I could nitpick the plot hole of why does a guy, you know, have this secret passage into the mines and the Moogle lair from his from the back of his house to the outskirts of town. Yeah, we only met that one time. I just know someone out there, like, renamed him, so right here he's like, I'm Flash Sentry, call me Brad. I haven't found someone yet, but I know someone has done that. You know, the hack's been downloaded hundreds of times. I know someone has renamed Flash Brad out there. If you've renamed Flash Brad, you know, like, I'll give a shout out to you. Just give you a screenshot. I want that screenshot. I'm Flash Sentry. Call me Brad. And I'll also note the hack's relation to the canon. There may or may not be one. You know, so I referenced some specific events in the canon, but some other events clearly haven't happened. So what's the hack's relation to the canon? Decide on your own. I'm not going to get into the details of it, because the details on a... Hang on. Is that a typo? Did I see a typo? Oh, I thought it said can-a-lot without the N. I'm going blind. Twilight, take the lead. Pardon me. And of course, Julie is running the classroom that teaches tutorials. Where else would she be, really? Here ourselves. The characters in here, I didn't really change anything here, because this is just like basic gameplay info, like how to open the menu and save and that. In the other classrooms, I did change some things, because some of the tutorial info in the original game was kind of dumb, I think. Like, I remember there's one whole NPC that dedicated to telling you how Reflect works, when you aren't going to encounter Reflect or enemies with Reflect until much, much later in the game. So what's the point? But so I did change some of the tutorial enemies, and also because a lot of the gameplay features in this game are different. So I try to change what they tell you to be more relevant to this overhauled gameplay balance. Like this guy here, in the original game, he tells you, like, here's how slow and haste and stop and reflect and safe work. You're not going to encounter those statuses for a while. So here he teaches you some more basic stuff like mute, blind, poison, and also tells you the specific items you take, and also tells you how to cure them. Because you're going to encounter enemies that can poison and confuse you coming up, you know? You want to know this stuff if you've never played the game. I didn't want to make this game, like, unfriendly to noobs. Like, why is my, you know, like, I just got poisoned in battle and now my cat, what do I do now? Okay, that's enough. It's the advanced classes where I really overhauled the NPC dialogue. Like, the status person is here now. Now, it's probably because of the event and because Locke and Terrace use a specific palette, but for some reason, and I had a counter where various NPCs in the room would also have their colors change during this event. So everyone in here, I think it's palette 0. Everyone here uses palette 0, so they don't light up. Because that would look kind of really dumb. Yeah, elements are a big part of this game. You know, a lot of enemies have elemental affinities. They have, especially the Imperials, have a variety of elemental attacks. So that can make a big difference now. And this is something I remember I made a point to point out. I'll move some so I can show it. When I was playing as a kid, I didn't know this screen existed. Like, I thought this was it, you know, I never noticed that flashing cursor, it never occurred to me to push left. So you know that thing showing the weapon's power and stat boost and what abilities it enables, and if it teaches spells or not? So I remember making it a point to have that pointed out in this hack now so everyone knows how to do that. Because that's useful info. And here this guy recaps how the different pony species have different innate stats, which is also a big part of gameplay. With the Esper stat bonuses gone, innate stats are critical, they define the character. So it's important to know how, and also various exclusive equipment. Earth pony equipment tends to raise their stamina and strength. Pegasi equipment raises speed and evade. Exclusive weapons, appetites, katanas, party tricks, and brushes. And once again, these weapon types are tied to the pony types. The Pegasi have spears, the unicorns have rods, earth ponies have claws, and alicorns have throwing wings. Why throwing wings for alicorns? Because that's what's left over. Like, there's no simple answer. Like, you know, you tell me what weapons would alicorns use? You know, swords and daggers are like basic weapons. Flash, do your thing. I never thought of crossbow's power a lot from vanilla, but it's still very, very good. You know, that's the thing. Like, one of the hardest parts of this hack is gameplay balance. There's so many ways to balance. Like, Flash auto crossbowing those enemies and killing them all. Well, how do you balance that? Do the enemies need higher defense? Do they need higher HP? Does Flash need to have lower strength so his weapon tools do less damage? Does the auto crossbow need a power nerf, or am I fine with the enemies being killed in one hit, you know? rinse and repeat for every enemy, and it only gets more complex as you go deeper in the game and the player has more access to more weapons and armor and that. I remember that once there's a boss later in the game that GW Softcore Brony beat by spamming summons on it, like 4 or 5 summons, and killed it in one round, because it's a very difficult boss otherwise. And I decided, you know what, for story reasons it actually makes sense that summoning Espers against this guy would be very effective, so I'm not going to change that. You know, that's a good strategy, that works. I'm just debating now if we want to do the Canalot stuff now or next recording. What the hell, let's do it now. Oh hey, it's you. Proceed. I love the Figaro theme. Figaro theme is cool. Down here are the Diamond Dogs. We can't talk to them just yet. Pardon me. And there's a big Matt Pallet Swamp. That is one of the things that I know is like, at a lot of the places I really have to stretch it to make FF6 conform to Pony. And Figaro is just one of them. Like, you know, like, this castle can teleport across the world. Yeah, but it looks like it's burrowing under the sand. What's up with that? Rattle Fox did design a new animation for it. Other thoughts on, I think someone commented that funny, the moisturizer cures petrify. I like that too. Can I sell something? Let's sell a refresher. Anyway, someone commented how funny it was that, you know, moisturizer cures petrify, and, you know, it was, not GW. Oh, crap, I'm trying to... I am so sorry when The Umpone 3000. That was it. I remember he cracked a lot of jokes about, you know, Cider restoring MP. Get drunk, I need you to be drunk so you can use more magic. Yeah, I know Pony Fantasy 6, I don't remember the exact names to use, but, you know, that works. Apples and cider and that. And then cake as the Mega Elixir. Like, that's the thing, I'm sure, like, someone out there does all sorts of humorous stuff with this, like, Celestia, like, spamming cakes on everyone, or Pinkie Pie using cupcakes on everyone. I'm sure that stuff is out there, you know. Well, at least I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that my hack becomes, you know, very recognizable and widespread. You know, in its own right. It isn't just a remake of Pony Fantasy 6. Part of the reason I changed the name to Philly Fantasy 6 was because I realized, you know, this is a very different thing in terms of story and gameplay and that. Celestia! Excuse me. I did? Yes, quiet, we're back building. By the way, fun fact, Flash Sentry, even to this day, is a heavily modified Scootaloo sprite. I took Scootaloo and changed the hairstyle, and yeah. That's why if you look at Flash, like, his muzzle has, like, the smaller, as a pixel smaller, like, the Stallions have muzzles that are, like, so wide, and Flash's is the smaller one, like foals, like mares. But I think it works if he's supposed to be kind of like the handsome pretty boy, you know, maybe he would have, like, the softer features like that. And there's a sentence you'll never hear outside of My Little Pony. Why? I'm just a normal unicorn. And that's why it's in the desert. That's our little nudge nudge wink wink hand wave. Now we can go talk to the Diamond Dogs. The god is out of the way. If, well, you see, it was just a lousy apple. Come on, come closer. Yeah, Wowo's out there, and if you've played the game, you know he's out there. So we'll see the boss of the Diamond Dogs, don't you worry. And this is the part of hack, I think, one of the... I won't spoil it. If you haven't played the hack, I won't spoil what the Espers actually are. But for now, let's just say that they are the Crystal Ponies. And once again, I also thought of like putting some books here that players could read, maybe, you know, books on like basic world lore and stuff. But I decided not to because the game is actually surprisingly dialogue heavy. I applied expanded the ROM so that to allow for more data for dialogue, and I've almost filled it up. I've actually had to delete some unused dialogue pieces in order to fit in more dialogue. Honestly, I think like playing the game, you could tell I'm a fanfiction writer that I did pay so much attention to trying to tell a good story, you know? Yeah, in the original game, these are two maidens talking about how King Edgar is a notorious flirt. But here it's unicorns talking to Twilight about what Celestia's taught her. Try not to read too much into that. Molly! Excuse me. Don't know what happened there. Hello, obvious Sweetie Belle palette swap. Later in the game, she has one of my jokes I'm proud of. And that's why only Flash can use the weapons command and all that. And I forgot to stop off at the weapons merchant, actually, and buy him some of his other stuff. We'll do that on the way back. These flashback scenes with the two are completely changed from the original game. In the original game, we talked about Edgar and Sabin. Their father had been poisoned by the Empire and he's dying. And the brothers are arguing over the succession and if he's going to die or not and what they should do because they know the Empire poisoned him and all that. I changed it here to be more about what to do about the war with Sombra, because obviously the parent stuff doesn't make too much sense. Luna, one of the few ponies who doesn't need to have a nickname. We can just call her Luna. You know, I never noticed it. That color scheme actually looks kind of like Twist. Is it Twist? I remember there's a filly with like red and blue mane and a white coat in the show. I'm pretty sure it's Twist. No, that's gonna be my headcanon. That's Twist. There's a lot of NPCs in the game that intended to be specific characters. I do not intend for that to be Twist originally, but that I'm saying it now. That is supposed to be Twist. She will maybe be Celestia's student someday. Why doesn't she have her glasses on? You know what? She doesn't need them. Celestia's magic healed her eyes. Yes. Kibitz. A little nod to the comics of Radiant Hope is in here earlier. Like, I wish the show would bring in Kibitz. You know, he's a character that just perfectly fits in with Celestia. There's no reason to show. But then that would open a can of worms of are the comics canon or not. And there's Discord. I remember thinking the joke to myself one time how like it's almost like Discord's limbs, like which limbs on which side change depending on which way he's looking, and I'm just thinking, well, it's exactly like the show. Also, yes, and equestrian ponies ride on chocobos. Don't look too hard into that. So yes, Celestia is here now, and like I said before with Pinkie Pie, she can learn natural magic, so there are 3 characters in this hack that have natural magic. Celestia would normally have fire. She doesn't learn it until level 7. We are too low for that. I'm actually pondering why I did that. Flash, talking to Flash does nothing. Have to talk to the soldiers first. This is one thing I have to admit, like, they're both kind of idiots here. Like, Discord knows that it's Twilight here. And Celestia knows that Discord knows, but, you know, even still, so... I also kind of like that, as right now, you can just leave with Edgar. Like, you do this in FF6 too. Just leave, you know, take Celestia onto the overworld map. You know... I'm just curious. I'm gonna use the speed up key. I just want to go see. Well, you know, let's explore the game. What better time during the developer's commentary than to explore? What happens if we take Celestia all the way up to Nosh, or Naish? The My Little Pony theme. Let's just sit here for a moment and enjoy it. It was MO6 from ff6hacking.com who implemented this, and also Fluttershy's theme, changing Shadow's theme, because I don't have a problem with Final Fantasy VI's music, it's great, but Shadow's theme really didn't work for Fluttershy. So I asked him specifically to do that, and he did this for the changing the Prelude theme to the Pony theme. I did contact him for version 2.0 to see if he could do some other music hacks, but he never got back to me. And which is really kind of disappointing, because the idea I had to do was that I wanted to do all fly, you know, Tank's Rainbow's theme for Tank, all fly, to replace the Blackjack theme, and a true friend to replace Searching for Friends in the World of Ruin. You know, because, like, just imagine, you know, the opening notes of a true friend helps a friend in need, a friend who will be there to help you see. You know, that song cueing as you raise the airship and the crew resolves to put back the gang together. I think that'd be really cool. But alas, it is not to be. I've reached out to the guy several times asking him, you know, hey, what's going on with this music stuff? You said you'd give it a shot and you never got back to me. I don't know. Maybe someday as an update I'll toss out a patch, you know, hey, apply this patch and you can have more custom music. We'll see. And now with the dash button you can run ahead of him and cut him off. It's your old room. And now, my own terrible pony pun. The returners are renamed the Main Force. A friend of mine said, when I told him that pun, he said, I hate how much I love that. Again, it's not pony without terrible puns. Ponehenge. What is happening? I was dreaming about cake! dares waken me? Oh. Yeah, this is a problem. Yeah, so Celestia actually does something while the royal guards run around ineffectually and are useless. Yeah, that seems fairly canon accurate. And now the most unconvincing special effect in the game. It always bugged me in the original Final Fantasy VI, though, that, like, Kefka was surprised by this. Like, if there's a whole castle that can burrow under the sand to move across the continent, don't you think the Empire would know about it? You know? Because, especially the official timeline established, it's something they've tested and developed. This can't have been a secret up until now. Also, as a kid playing, I thought that the gods chasing you here were the same gods from Nation. It didn't occur to me that they were dead. I thought it was just the same two gods that happened to be in the area. Well, Twilight, you're the only one that fends some magic, so you're a designated attacker. Originally, when I did this, there's a scene in the original game where Edgar and Locke react to Taylor using magic, because magic isn't supposed to exist, and they're surprised to see her casting magic. For this hack, originally I changed it like Celestia being surprised like at just how good Twilight's magic is. But then I realized later, you know, no, just get rid of the scene. How do I just get rid of the scene entirely? And then I did. Boom. That was easy. Once again, Magitech armor sprite look amazing. That's the first one Rydell did. I love them. I just love the design, Dick. That was the thing he did. I think he mentioned in general, like, for original designs that I left him, gave him free reign to come up with, he tried to invoke the imagery of the original Imperial stuff, but still trying to have its own shtick going on. And they did that, like, it's recognizable kind of as Magitech armor, but it also looks like its own stuff. And now for the plot dump. Not much to say here, unfortunately. I wish I did. And Zecora as Bannon. Why? Just because. You know, it's gotta be someone. I thought at one point, you know, maybe making it the mayor, like in Pony Fantasy VI. At another point it was going to be Cadence, maybe, but yeah. So yeah, I think it's a good place to leave off. We've been playing for about an hour now. Don't know how long until the next one. You know, hopefully, you know, we won't be waiting too long. Probably have one out in the new year, at least once for January. And yeah, if you have any questions you'd like me to address, just hit me up in the comments. If I don't reply to your comments, I'll bring it up in the next video. And yeah, just thanks for watching. This is Drake Clawfang signing off.